You're watching The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the God. We are The Breakfast Club.
You know, this is a segment we do called Empower to the People.
Empower to the People. I'm so mad I got to leave a little early, and I don't want to mess up your names.
Oh.
Because I look at this and I'm not going to pronounce this name here.
Gyasi Ross.
Gyasi Ross.
Blackfeet Nation, yes, sir.
And Nikkita Oliver. That's not hard.
No, I knew Nikkita, but Gyasi?
Gyasi Ross.
Gyasi? That was a tough one. Well, good morning, guys.
Peace.
Well, Nikkita's running for mayor of Seattle.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Tell us about that, because Seattle's like a really white place, and you seem to be a woman of color.
I appear to be.
You see him? That's what it looks like to you?
Yeah, it is 70.5% white.
Yeah.
And the black community there is about 7%, and then you have a very large Asian community and some Latinx folks. But we're running for mayor because, and I say we because I'm running with the People's Party of Seattle, which is a new party we're hoping to develop because we're looking at the way society is and realizing we don't have any political power. And so we can march as much as we want to in the streets, but if we don't have some political power, some decision-making power, we're going to stay in the same situation. So we decided that we were going to develop this party and have our first run be someone for mayor, and we wanted a grassroots community organizer, and folks kept asking, and eventually I decided I would answer the call to be that person.
How hard is it to run for any office in a city, especially being a minority?
Yeah, it's challenging, but I think at the end of the day, there's some basic human needs in our city that are going unmet. We have a huge issue with homelessness, about 4,000 plus people on the streets at night, lack of affordable housing. Gentrification is not just pushing out folks of color, but cash poor folks, and eventually, all the middle income folks are going to be pushed out the city too.
Now, weed is legalized. Weed is legal in Seattle. And the reason I asked that is I was in Denver, and weed is legal there as well. And they were saying that the homeless count has risen because of the weed, because a lot of people come from out of town to come there to be able to smoke weed now, but they have nowhere to live. And they're saying the weed actually caused a lot of that. Is that true?
I can't speak for Denver. I don't think that's really the issue in Seattle. In Seattle, a lot of our electeds are very corporate and have really bought into the corporate power scheme, and the sort of housing that's being built is just not affordable, not even for our teachers. Our teachers can't live in the city. So, no one else can either.
You just can't afford it. Seattle is one of the most affluent cities in the United States. There was homelessness prevalent in Seattle before weed was legal. And I'm guessing that there's a few folks who this sounds good. Why not? But I could be high and homeless. But right. I think that the numbers show that it was something that pre-existed weed becoming legal.
How are you funding your campaign? Because it's very expensive, it seems like, to run for mayor.
It is. We're funding it grassroots. We're not taking any corporate donations. This is really about the people. And I think that's been a really inspiring message for folks because we've actually been able to raise nearly $20,000 in a month. Wow. And that's on the $5, $10, $50, $100 a month donations from folks in the city who are really just tired of the way politicals are acting.
Now, did that help or hurt, though, the fact that you don't have the corporate backing or you don't have the money that other candidates have?
It's a principled thing. And there's certain swords that we decided as the People's Party that we're willing to fall upon. And that was one of them. And in fact, I'm Native American. My family's from the Suquamish tribe as well as the Blackfeet Nation. We decided as a matter of principle that we wouldn't even take tribal money. Tribes are going to rock with us, of course. But we said, no, because it's the People's Party. We want individual people to donate money. And so, it was just a principled thing. I guess in the grand scheme of things, it could be something that backfires, assuming our only principle was to win the contest outright, as opposed to setting a trend, hopefully, of more transparent politics.
And this is going to sound crazy, but I just got a real question. What's the chance of you winning? And the reason I ask that is a lot of times people say, I want to put my money into a candidate that I know has a shot.
Yeah.
But if we don't have a shot and we put all our funds and resources into you and we know that you don't have a shot, it's like, well, what's the point? What is the
or
is
this more of a statement, too?
Right.
It's both.
It's both. It's both. And there's definitely, we've already began to change what the narrative is in Seattle around electeds. The incumbent decided a week after we announced that he would hire a director of organizing and activism because he realized he has no connection to community, no connection to the grassroots, and saw that, we're really able to galvanize that. Our team is made up of organizers and activists, teachers, educators, lawyers, folks who live in the neighborhood. And we do have a chance. The Seattle Times, The Stranger, other publications in Seattle that typically would not be favorable to an activist actually have called me the most formidable challenger to the current mayor.
Who's the current mayor? Is Ed Murray, right?
Ed Murray.
But don't he
Ed
got like
Murray.
sexual allegations or some type of sex abuse scandal going on?
He got something going on, yeah.
Definitely, it's
He
going
worked
on.
for Fox News or something, they said?
Someone find a sexual
No.
case somewhere.
I mean, it's there though.
It's
It's legitimate.
It's on the headlines right now. And so about that, one of the things that's interesting, without going into the veracity of the claims, because both Nikkita and I are attorneys, and the person's afforded due process under the law, right? But outside of that, that's a very real allegation. And there's been, unfortunately, a response that seems, some people have accused the mayor of victim blaming about these responses, that these are very serious allegations.
Right,
Okay,
absolutely.
this person says that you've been sexually abused. The
And
interesting
not just
thing,
persons. We're talking about minors.
yeah,
Oh,
and
my
minors,
goodness.
and not minors like that go into mines like young
no,
folks,
no,
right?
Kids, little
Right,
girls,
kids.
little boys. I don't know.
But here's the thing about it. Outside of his guilt or innocence, the interesting discussion is, what if the tables were flipped? What if this was a person of color as opposed to a wealthy white man?
They would tell you to drop out the race. They
Right.
They wouldn't want you in the race.
You wouldn't even, you'd be
You'd be
buried.
at a distraction.
You'd be buried.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if the table was flipped, if the cards were on the other side, we would see a completely different response. And so as a result of that, your question before, whether it hurt or helped to not take these corporate funds, we're held to a completely different standard, than these affluent white men, these old white men. And we have to have everything that we do be completely above board, honorable. And that's cool. We're those kind of people anyway. But, we see other folks that aren't necessarily playing by those same rules.
Now, Nikkita, as far as being a woman, are you facing a lot of sexism running for mayor?
I mean, I haven't yet in Seattle. I mean, there's definitely the obvious double standards, the critiques, the lesser leader, like she might be a lesser leader, or does she have the qualifications? I think questions that you wouldn't ask a man,
Right.
And I've had to answer those and speak for what makes me even a viable candidate. And I think being a woman of color, having both of those things, definitely contributes to being asked some really dumb questions. I answer them, sometimes as a smart ass, but they got to be answered. And this really isn't just about me.
Right.
While those questions get on my nerves and I have my moments where I want to scream and yell, reality is this is about people. It's about our people. It's about ensuring that we actually have a place in the conversation. And so I'm willing to take those questions to ensure that we get that seat at the table.
Now, this may be a dumb question, but can you create more change as an activist or a politician?
This has been my struggle because I definitely did not, becoming an elected was not on my life plan. And I have been an in the streets activist, been an organizer. We're challenging a $210 million youth facility youth jail they want to build in Seattle. We were challenging the building of a new $180 million police bunker. And these are things that I've actively been doing in the streets, both and also on the policy level. And we've been successful. I think, though, we are at a crucial pivot point, a crucial time when if we don't actually grab some elected power, especially in Seattle, we're not going to get to live in that city anymore. We won't exist there. And so it won't matter how many times we march in the street in Seattle or how many times we shut down city council meetings. We don't have homes there. So why would we even continue to be activists in that space?
Now, how do we get more minorities to back you and to make sure that we have your back? Start up with our own first to make sure that we at least own that, and then we can branch from there.
Yeah, I mean, one obvious thing is you can help fund the campaign.
And how can people do that?
They can go to SeattlePeoplesParty.com, donate online, contribute financially to the campaign. But then there's also just getting it out there, getting my name out there, helps make the campaign viable so people know who I am and who we are and what we're really about. I think our message is compelling. Actually, I know our message is compelling. We saw over 800 people pack themselves into a space for 2 hours and have to turn away 200 the day of our launch. And so people are really hungry for something new. So helping us get that news out there and that story out there. And really, we need people to back candidates with a backbone who are willing to draw hard lines in the sand. We have all these meetings with folks, and they'll say, yeah, you know, we really believe what you're about. We really believe in you, and we have your back, but we got your back under the table. We're a little scared to come out and say it publicly.
If you win, then they'd be like, yeah, we backed you.
Exactly.
This is really a beta test. We want this to this is nothing proprietary here. We're willing to put ourselves out there, and Nikkita definitely putting herself out there to a completely different degree. Like they're scrutinizing her financials for years past. You know, all this stuff.
What's up with your financials? You go over there?
Nah, I mean, I got school loans.
But this is a beta test. So hopefully, because the idea of this, we're trying to retell a story. We're trying to do exactly what you folks are doing here, which is to seize control of a small area and be able to say, we're going to reframe this question. Why aren't we involved in this process? Why aren't we the ones who are making these decisions? And to tell, hopefully, a whole bunch of young people of color, no, you really can't do this.
And Seattle has like this narrative of being progressive. I mean, like we have Chief Seattle as the seal of the city. There are totem poles everywhere. We talk about the Central District, which is like the historically black neighborhood. There's all kinds of murals up, but black people can't live there anymore. And I think reality is we really need to start challenging this idea that Seattle is progressive. It's not progressive if we're being pushed out, if people are supporting displacement, and we're not really about equity. I mean, I call it fake-wity. Every time I go to an equity conference in Seattle, I'm like, time to go to the fake-wity conference, because we're not really about it. We say it in word, but you know, it doesn't. Our deeds, our actions don't actually match that.
Yeah, we like to check off boxes, and the substance thereunder is just not there, and so this is and by the way, Angela, your question about being a woman, that's an equity question too. There hasn't been a woman mayor of Seattle in 91 years.
And never a woman of color.
Never a woman of color here.
Never a woman of color.
And the reason why, people never inquire why, because like when we see statistics like that, we're left to either one of two things. Number one, that particular community, in this case women, but it could be about black folks, it could be about Native folks, is just inherently reprobate. Or alternatively, there are structural flaws in the system that prevent that type of person from being in the system. In this case, obviously, you see a long linear descent of old white-ass men. And there's a reason why there's a long linear descent of old white-ass men, because they had access to capital. Most of these white men can afford to be full-time politicians. This is the incumbent mayor or any one of these other particular candidates. Their full-time job is to run for mayor. That's it. They don't have to work a full-time job like Nikkita. And also, when you start inquiring about women, why aren't women in mayoral positions or elected positions? Well, I'm a father. I love being a father. But, there's also a part of being a father that's burden. And an undue amount of the burden of parenting falls upon women. And so there's all of these things that historically have prevented women from being mayors. And this is an equity issue. And that's why I'm so thankful for you folks, Breakfast Club, having us on, because you recognize the equity issue. And we need some alternative conversations and alternative platforms to be able to talk about these equity issues, because otherwise it's just going to be the same narrative told again and again and again. And people are just going to wonder, I guess women aren't qualified to do this job.
So where did they go to, donate money to the campaign?
Tell them one more time.
You got to go to SeattlePeoplesParty.com or NikkitaOliverForMayor.com. There's a donate link, a button on there, and you can just donate to the campaign. You can also go to our Facebook page, Seattle People's Party, and share. There's tons of videos, tons of information. Our platform is online, talking about housing, education, criminal legal system reform. In particular, Seattle has a police department that's under consent decree, and so we have a lot of work to do there.
Okay. Well, you know what you need to do? Just keep us abreast of what's going on.
Absolutely.
We got a lot going on, so it's never annoying. We love to do things like this. We love to help people, good people.
We had a really good friend that had a really bad issue in the police department too in Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
DV.
Yep.
Yeah, DV. And that's the thing, is that what Nikkita says about progressivity and just having this illusion of, that we're doing things the right way because they happen to invite a few black folks to the meetings or something like that. The optics, we don't care about that. We have to be past that and start to inquire about the substance thereunder. And that's exactly what is coming out. Just an interesting little story before I know you folks got places to be. But there was recently a story two days ago. The Seattle Times, the major publication in the area, said Ed Murray, the incumbent mayor, he should drop out of the race.
Right.
Because of the sexual abuse allegation.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what we would think. That's what we would think is that maybe you should drop out because this is something that might be traumatic to other victims. Well, we don't know about the veracity of the claim, but just the fact that this might be re-traumatizing, or there's too much of a dark cloud over your head, and you need to
handle your business and then get back there.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not what their rationale was. Their rationale instead why Ed Murray should drop out was because there was these left-wing ideologues, radicals, who might get into the mayor's office if he doesn't drop out. Now, they didn't even say her name.
Wow.
They didn't even have the
They
decency.
actually said another woman's name who's not even running for office in
right.
Seattle.
So
So they didn't even
So
say my name.
disrespectful, and that's sort of that progressivity that where no, you're really not. You're really like this is racist. This is sexist.
Absolutely.
You won't. My dad used to tell me if you're gonna rob me, at least have the decency to use a gun. They didn't even have the decency to use a gun. They
Rob
didn't
me
even
without
use
a
her
gun. That's
name.
right. Mhm.
Yeah, they're gonna passively aggressively go around your name, act like we're not talking about you, but we don't want you
talking
in
about you.
office. Right.
Well, Seattle has shown that they can evoke change. I mean, y'all withdrew what, $3 billion out of
$3 billion,
Wells Fargo?
yeah. Shout out. Yep. But that only came, so you asked the question before about whether grassroots organizing or alternatively being an elected official is more effective. That came at the impulse, the compulsion of grassroots organizers. Shout out to Matt Remley, Millie Kennedy, Rachel Heaton. That came at the result of a lot of people on the streets and in the city council meetings making people sweat.
I mean, and to be honest, this campaign is actually the birth of grassroots organizers. I mean, we've gotten to the point where we've shut down enough council meetings that it's like, you know what? We're kind of tired of yelling at y'all. I think we're just gonna take over some spaces, and we're gonna use your system you created, and we're gonna do it better than you did. We're gonna do it with more integrity than you did. We're gonna draw hard lines in the sand and say there's some stuff we're not willing to accept, and we're gonna be able to do that. One of the things that we heard at the campaign launch was, you know, I didn't know someone could run for office saying the types of things that you're saying, and we've gotten so used to elected officials.
Nobody saw the Trump campaign?
But we gotten used to elected officials who don't have any substance and they're not really about people, that when you finally hear someone who's talking about that, getting applause for that, and people are starting to rally around it, it's a little bit shocking, which should be disturbing to us, right? That when you have someone running for office who's talking about real issues, that you're like surprised.
Right.
And that's the state that we found ourselves in.
When's the election?
It is August 1st is primaries. Top 2 from primaries will be in the general election.
August 1st. So August 1st,
Get out
Seattle
there and
needs
vote.
to go out there and vote for Nikkita Oliver.
Nikkita Oliver.
And money.
And donate.
Money runs elections.
Absolutely.
Money runs elections, and we're counting on y'all. Thank you so much, for this platform. And, $10, $20 is not a whole bunch. We're going to make it stretch.
That's right.
We got brilliance around us, bro. Like, we got brilliant people, and we've been up until the launch, which was April 2nd, we literally didn't have a dime. But we were called the most formidable, right? Like we're doing work without money, and now we got a little bit of money. We can make this stretch in a different
some
way.
more work.
Yeah, that's right. So, but at some point, money does run elections. It does run, these specialists, these data specialists, and stuff like that. And so, folks, donate $10, $20. Go to Nikkita Oliver for mayor, NikkitaOliver.com. Either one of those Seattle People's Party. Donate $10, $20. It'll help.
There you have it.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you for joining us. Nikkita Oliver for mayor, Seattle mayor. We wish you the
Yes.
best of luck.
And he still can't pronounce your name.
Mr. Ross. I was gonna say, and we appreciate Mr. Ross for joining us.
Right. Every time
Gyasi.
there you go.
Hey.
There you go. Every time somebody calls me Mr. Ross, I know it's because they already know what it is.
What up, G?
What up, G? How you?
Right.
G. Ross. It's
G.
the
Ross.
Breakfast Club. Good morning.
The Breakfast Club. Every weekday morning. Tune in